It is now time for the Robesonian Sports Report with Chris Stiles on 97.1 FM, 1340 AM, WAGR in Lumberton, covering sports for Robeson County. Now here's your host, Chris Stiles.
And welcome to the Robesonian Sports Report here on WAGR. I'm your host, Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian. And plenty to talk about here as we are right in the midst of the high school basketball state playoffs and have a couple of teams from Robeson County who are entering the fourth round on Friday night. A couple of runs that as kind of middle seeds that a lot of people outside Robeson County may not have expected, maybe even some within. But certainly those that have followed the Fairmont boys and the St. Paul's girls all season maybe are a little bit less surprised by this, as they've both played very strongly all season. And the matchups have been favorable a little bit as well for both of them, and they've really played well and taken advantage of that. But getting right into it, the Fairmont boys Tuesday night earned a 82-65 win at number 6 Heidi Trask. Fairmont the number 14 seed. So Fairmont advances to the fourth round for the first time since 2018. The Golden Tornadoes have been on the road the last couple of rounds. Did beat Granville Central at home in the first round before beating West Bladen by 21 on the road in the second round. That's an interesting result in that they had lost by 31 in the regular season at West Bladen, beat them at home by 7 points late in the regular season, and then in the playoff meeting beat them there by 21. So from the first meeting in Bladenboro to the second was a 52-point turnaround, so quite impressive. Tuesday night at Heidi Trask, Fairmont led by a point at halftime and then pulled away in the third quarter, withstood a couple of little runs by Heidi Trask in the fourth as they were trying to make a comeback. Fairmont's game plan from the outset was very clear. They were trying to go to the rim as much as possible, and that ended up being the case throughout the entire game. They made 35 field goals, and 33 of them were either layups, putbacks, or dunks, and most of them were layups. Just a couple of jump shots in the game. Xavier Johnson, 28 points for Fairmont and 11 rebounds. This is a guy that was Robeson County Underclassman of the Year last year, missed the first half or so of this season, and then came back and kind of has had ups and downs through the second half of the season, kind of trying to get back to that form from last year. And Tuesday night, it was definitely that for Xavier Johnson. It was the Xavier Johnson Fairmont's been looking for all season, with him scoring 28, and that was on 14 made baskets. He did not make any free throws or any three-pointers. It was 14 two-point baskets. Landon Cummings has been strong all season and scored 17 points. And then Isaac McCullough had 10, Josiah Billings and Tyreek Thompson had 9 each for Fairmont, and Gabriel Washington had 9 assists. Fairmont held Myron McCoy, Heidi Trask, leading scorer, to 16, which is well below his season average. That did lead the Titans in scoring. And of note, talking about Fairmont attacking the rim, Sherrod Henderson is Heidi Trask's best post player, averaging, I can't remember, at or near a double-double. And he went out on the first play of the second quarter with an ankle injury and did not return to the game. So that certainly hurt Heidi Trask as far as losing a big rim protector there. But Fairmont was already really getting to the rim pretty well, but even then with Henderson out, took advantage even more throughout the rest of the game. So Fairmont advances to face Goldsboro at 7 p.m. on Friday night. Goldsboro is the number 2 seed in the 2A East region. This is a Goldsboro program that finished second in the region, was runner-up in the region last year, losing the regional final to Farmville Central, rather. And right back there as the number 2 seed again, right where they were a year ago. But they've played close games the last 2 rounds against Washington and against Hertford County to get to this point in the fourth round. It's a very experienced Goldsboro team. Amari Latham is averaging 20 points, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists and 3 steals per game. Jaquan Green, 13 points, 5 rebounds, almost 3 assists. And Nyrese Williams, over 12 points and 2 assists. So some strong scorers for Goldsboro. And it'll be a challenge certainly for Fairmont, and a Goldsboro team, as I said, that's made a long playoff run last year, is an experienced team. So They certainly know what the increasing pressures of later playoff rounds is like. If Fairmont can win, and this is true for St. Paul's girls as well when I talk about them in a minute, if either one can win on Friday night, they'll advance to the regional final. And the NCHSA this year, with a new format for the regional finals and the state championships, will all be held at Lawrence Coliseum in Winston-Salem, which is Wake Forest's home arena, all throughout the week. 2A will be on Wednesday, regional finals, and Saturday state championships, but other classifications will be playing other days as well. So there'll be basketball there in Winston from Monday through Saturday. So Fairmont and St. Paul's both looking to advance and be part of that kind of festival of high school basketball, if you will. And speaking of St. Paul's girls basketball, they're the 15 seed in the 2A East region on the girls' side. They beat 7th seeded Northeastern 51-48 on Tuesday night. St. Paul's getting to this point with a first-round win over Southwest Edgecombe, in which they truly survived and advanced. Did not play well down the stretch of that game and held on to win by 1 point. And then defeated undefeated Southwest Onslow, the number 2 seed, in the second round, quite convincingly, in fact. Tuesday night in the win over Northeastern, St. Paul's had a double-digit lead in the first half. Showed some resolve, though, after Northeastern came back to take the lead, and St. Paul's answered that to retake the lead and ultimately earn the 3-point win. Deshaunte Harris had 21 points, 4 assists, 4 steals in that game. Ava Monroe is a freshman guard that's come on very strong here down the stretch, has scored 13 points and had 5 rebounds on Tuesday night. And then Zoriana Shipman, 12 points and 4 steals for her. St. Paul's is the lowest remaining seed in any boys or girls state tournament in any classification across the board. They're the 15th seed in the 2A East region. And I'll add, too, that Fairmont is the second lowest remaining seed as a 14, tied for that distinction with Ben L. Smith out of Greensboro, who's still left in the 3A boys bracket. So a couple of lower seeds making runs here from Robeson County this week and this month in the state playoffs. As St. Paul's continues, they'll face Seaforth. That's a 27-3 C14. That's the number 3 seed in the 2A East region. And they already have a win over St. Paul's this season. It was a 62-26, very convincing win for Seaforth back in December. St. Paul's, though, is a different team than it was back then. And actually, that may have been in November. It was very early in the season. Gabby White leads Seaforth in scoring, nearly 16 points a game, nearly 8 rebounds, and then also nearly 3 assists, nearly 3 steals. Katie Leonard scoring 10.7 points a game as well for Seaforth. And they've only got one senior contributor, 1 or 2 more on the roster, but one as far as an impact player. And so this is a Seaforth program that's putting itself in position to be around for quite a while. I believe they made it to the regional final. That's off the top of my head, though. Last year and beat St. Paul's in the playoffs last year by 3 points in a game that St. Paul's probably wins if Ja'Kiah Thompson's 100% healthy. But as is, Seaforth came to St. Paul's and got the win. That was a third-round game last year. They'll meet at 6 p.m. Friday in a fourth-round game this year with a regional final berth on the line. And, of course, you can read about all that on Robesonian.com, as well as some of the other sports goings-on here in Robeson County, high schools, and UNCP as well. Well, that's we're just getting started here on the Robesonian Sports Report. Coming up, we'll have a very special guest. Retiring UNCP women's basketball coach John Haskins will be joining us over the phone as they get set for the Conference Carolinas tournament this weekend. You're listening to the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR. Back on the Robesonian Sports Report here on WAGR, and we're joined over the phone by UNCP women's basketball coach John Haskins. How's it going, Coach?
It's going good, Chris. How you doing?
Good. Getting ready for the Conference Carolinas tournament for you all this weekend, and you guys will head into that tournament with some momentum after clinching the Conference Carolinas East Division title and the number 1 seed in the tournament as well in your last regular season game. A home win over Chowan. And for you going out, retiring at the end of the season, so going out with a division title, with the number 1 seed, what does that mean for you and for the program?
Well, it means a lot. I think it means a special lot for the these 5 COVID seniors we've had that have been around, and Lil for 3 years, Kalea for 2, but Courtney, AP, and Anaya been with us for 5 years, and it's just good to see them go out on a good note and us be able to win what I think was the toughest of the divisions, of the 3 divisions. I think if you look at the combined record, our division was probably the strongest. So it was a good night last Wednesday night, and for them to go out with a divisional championship and then get the number 1 seed with Francis Marion's defeat of Belmont Abbey was just icing on the cake.
Yeah, and Francis Marion in the same division, they're the 2 seed. So I concur that a lot of tough competition in that division. You mentioned those seniors, Anaya McManus, Alcina Purnell, Courtney Smith, Lillian Flantos, and Kalea Hall. What have they meant to the program?
Man, just kind of the heart and soul of our program. They've just put in a lot of work. They're great kids. They're very good leaders. Very coachable, high buy-in level, and I think a high level of maturity. And I think that's important with teams that, you have mature teams, and I think this team's been a very mature team, and just appreciative of their leadership.
And Kalea Hall in particular, probably going to be first team all-conference player when those awards come out. How would you describe the season she's been able to put together?
She can just score the basketball. She just finds a way to get to the rim. Hasn't shot it great this year. It's kind of been spotty with her 3-point shooting. She's capable. She makes enough where you got to guard her, but just got a knack to get the ball to the rim, draw fouls. Very tough competitor. So, she's had an outstanding year, and she's definitely going to be an all-conference player. I think they come out tomorrow morning. We'll just kind of see where that falls. But yeah, definitely has had an all-conference season.
And going into the tournament, trying to repeat as Conference Carolina's tournament champions after winning it last year. And last year was a run through. You all were the 3 seed, had to beat the top 2, and didn't do so without Courtney Smith after her injury. This year, a little bit different situation from the number 1 spot, but still certainly some tough competition. You'll play a semifinal on Saturday against whoever advances from Emmanuel and Barton, their game on Friday. So what's it going to take for you guys to repeat as tournament champs this weekend?
I think the big thing is scoring on a consistent basis. That's always kind of been our issue. I feel like I just looked at the national stats. I think we're 3rd in the nation in field goal percentage defense. We're 12th in the nation in scoring defense, holding opponents just under 55. We just got to score, make open shots, and score on a consistent basis. The loss we had last Saturday down at Commerce, we scored 52 in regulation, and just weren't able to put the ball in the hole at a high enough rate. So I think that's the one thing. You just worry about as much time off as you had, and trying to figure out a rhyme or reason of what to do in practice and how much to do. Don't want to get anybody hurt, but you want to also stay kind of sharp. And the other thing is, these teams, they're going to be coming in off a win, and have a game under their belt in the tournament, which I think is important. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think our girls have, obviously got some good feelings about that gym at Wofford, and some good vibes going into Spartanburg. Basically pretty much the same team. We added Courtney and added a couple other new players, but just didn't lose anybody that made that run last year. So I think we'll have some confidence, and hopefully we'll play well.
And as you go into the tournament, somebody that's doing so on your roster, really on a hot streak, is Kelsey Adams, who's played. He's been a great scoring threat all season, but really the last couple of weeks has come on strong, including, I think, a 25, 28-point game, something like that, a couple games back. So describe how she's been able to really have a breakout for you guys here the last couple weeks of her redshirt junior season.
She just works at it. Kelsey really works at it, and we want her to shoot the ball. If she's open, it's a good shot. We're obviously encouraging her to shoot the basketball, and she has been on a good little streak here as of late. her confidence is at a high level, so we just want to keep that up. But again, I think for us to win basketball games, Kelsey, Courtney, AP, we've got to be able to make some perimeter shots, and those three are all very good shooters. And Anaya McManus has improved her shooting. Lillian can actually step out there and make some threes. Claire makes some threes. So I think we've got a lot of people that are capable of shooting it. We just need to shoot it well. But Kelsey's one that needs to shoot it well for us.
Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, and we're with outgoing UNCP women's basketball coach John Haskins, retiring at the end of the season, his 20th leading the women's program, Tim leading the men's program also before that. So, Coach, what factored into that decision to make this your final season?
Well, Chris, I thought you were talking about my personality when you said outgoing. But,
That's accurate, too.
I think there's a lot of factors that come into play. Obviously, I'm going to miss basketball. It's been my life for a long time. I'm going to miss the relationship with the kids. I'm going to miss having a team to coach. But just having the energy level to do all the things that are involved with being a college basketball coach was getting a little more difficult. I think the recruiting was getting a little more difficult in the sense that to try to convince kids to come to Pembroke knowing that I probably wouldn't be there, maybe another year or 2 years. That was a tough situation. So I felt like, okay, we've got a roster here. We've got these 5 seniors. Because I had thought about it, and I asked all these COVID seniors, I said, hey, y'all coming back for your COVID year? When they decided to, I kind of made the decision to definitely come back for this year. And then the other thing I think is that could I have coached another year and coached Kelsey and Zoe and Hannah for another year? Probably, but, if I wasn't, I guess that all into recruiting, I just didn't want to leave the cupboard bare. I think we've got a couple of signees that can help the program. I think they add a couple more with the nucleus they've got coming back, and we've got some good young players in the program. I think we could be a very solid team next year. And I kind of didn't want to go, okay, another year, and then, Kelsey's gone, Hannah's gone, Zoe is gone, and, basically the whole team from that, the kids that have made major contributions this year would have been gone from the program. So that factored into it also.
Yeah. And I do want to ask you a couple questions about looking back through your career. I mentioned you spent 10 seasons as the men's basketball head coach, 1992 to 2002. What are some memories from that span of your career?
Just some great kids, really good league. I mean, the Peach Belt was, probably about its apex right then with Columbus State, a very good team. Kennesaw was a year or so removed from winning the national championship. Augusta State was a very solid program. I mean, just everywhere you went, you had North Florida, you had upstate in the league with Jerry Waters. Just very good basketball league where you had to compete every night. We had some really good kids. We've had some pretty good teams. Had some teams that competed, but the record-wise, it wasn't great. But just great kids and two great assistant coaches, and Ricky Williams at Wendell State, who were actually both there for the game last Wednesday night. It was great to have them here. I just think the world of both of them. One's the athletic director at Georgia College State University, Wendell State, and then Ricky Williams did about an 8 to 10 year stint as the head coach at Shorter College in Rome, Georgia, the men's basketball program. So just relationship with those guys and all the kids we had on the team was my biggest memories.
And we talked about it when you made your announcement, but a lot of people may not realize you've actually coached 5 sports collegiately. Golf, which you're a very good golfer yourself, and certainly bring some level of expertise to that. And then I believe the other 2, correct me if I'm wrong, were men's tennis and cross country. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, not too many people can say that they've coached 5 sports in college.
Well, I think back in the old day, you kind of had to do that. If you were an assistant in a sport, you coached different sports. So for 3 years of my 4 years at Gardner Webb, I coached cross country, and and then as long as I didn't get anybody lost, I was pretty much okay. Out on the trails. But and then my my last year at Gardner-Webb, I took over the golf program, and then I did men's tennis because that's what the assistant did before me at UNC Pembroke, and did men's tennis for, I guess, the 3 years I was the men's assistant, and then I did the golf at Pembroke in between my stints as basketball coach. So, yeah, five on the college level.
Yeah, in the mid-2000s transition, men's basketball to golf, back to women's basketball. Talk about that time in your life.
I wanted to be I kind of wanted to be a golfer more than a golf coach, I think. Some things about golf, it's just, you didn't feel like you had any control. You put those 5 out there, and, you didn't. There was no timeouts. There was no subbing. There was no screaming and hollering. It just kind of is what it is. And I just like the competition right there on the basketball court with the scoreboard. You didn't even know how you stood with other teams, really. So, back to basketball with the crowd, the scoreboard, the officials. You can blame somebody. But anyway, I miss that competitiveness. I had some great kids on the golf team. I mean, I had a grad assistant that pretty much helped me coach the team. He probably coached the team more than I did, John Martin. But a former golfer, played for Wendell when he was a golf coach at Pembroke. But just some really good kids, and but I missed that competition. And then when Coach Mitchell Littleton, she got married and changed names, but when she decided to step away from the women's basketball coach, Dan asked me if I was interested in doing it, and I was, and it's been a great ride.
And you came to UNCP back in 1989 as an assistant under Dan Kinney. What has made it a place that you've wanted to spend nearly your entire career at?
I just felt like home. I just really, really good people. I had Joe Exendine as the chancellor, Dan as my boss as the basketball coach, Bobby Thompson as my PE department chair, and Ray Pennington as my AD, and just unbelievable people. And then there has been a run of great people come through UNC Pembroke. And, once we got here, got settled, I found a church home, made a lot of friends. Our kids went through elementary school all the way through high school here. It just became, Robeson County became a home to us. I just didn't, my wife's got a good job in pharmaceuticals and likes the territory she has. So just didn't want to leave. And it's worked out well because, it's hard to stay somewhere on the college level for 35 years. So it's just, it's been a blessing.
And you were a player at UNC Wilmington and were college teammates with Kentucky coach John Calipari. So describe what it was like being teammates with him, and then how has that relationship continued over the last 40 years or so?
Well, the little thing he did in the video, we went at each other in practice because neither one of us were the most athletic, the most talented, and but both kind of hard nosed, and so we went at it in practice. Sometimes went over the line a little bit, but John just had a great knowledge of the game. Probably not quite athletic enough as he needed to be, and we had a really good JUCO point guard. We all came in the same year, me, the JUCO point guard out of junior college, and then John out of high school, and probably just not quite as athletic as he needed to be to play at that level, so went back to Pennsylvania declaring state. But been a good friend ever since. Actually, I got him office today. He signed an autograph at Kentucky basketball for the Cash Bash auction, and texted with him a little bit today, thanking him for that in the video. So, yes, still stay in touch, and looking forward to making some Lexington trips with my former teammates next year to watch him play.
Yep. Coach Sean Haskins, thanks for joining us on the Robesonian Sports Report. Good luck this weekend.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
And we'll be right back on WAGR. Back on the Robesonian Sports Report here on WAGR, and here in the last segment of the show, I want to talk about UNCP basketball, as the men's and women's teams both are heading into the Conference Carolinas tournament this week, and both, in fact, are the number one seed in that tournament this weekend. Tournament being played at Wofford University in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Both teams, as the top seed, earned an automatic bye to the semifinals. Both will play on Saturday, and then if they advance, they'll play in the championship game on Sunday, and this Sunday is Selection Sunday for Division II, which is a week ahead of Division I. So both looking to potentially head to the NCAA tournament for Division II as well. The Braves men coming off loss to Chowan in the regular season finale a week ago, and it was a game they led by 5 very late, a foul three-point shooter, a strange technical foul, and then a lucky bounce on a 3 at the buzzer for Chowan. Kind of all that contributed, got it to overtime, and Chowan went on to win. But UNCP will look to regroup. It's the 3rd straight year they've won some kind of regular season title. The conference split into divisions this year, but they're the division champs after winning the regular season title the last 2 years, and they are also, as I mentioned, the 1 seed. They have not, though, won the conference tournament under Drew Richards in his tenure as head coach, despite having these good teams. So that's something they'll be looking to do. They should earn their 3rd straight NCAA bid on Sunday regardless. They should be in at large if they are not the tournament champ, but obviously that takes care of itself. Should they win the tournament, they'll play Barton or Francis Marion. Whoever wins that quarterfinal on Friday will play UNCP Saturday at 12:30 at Wofford. And this is a team with a lot of contributors. Nobody jumps off the stat page, but Bradley Haskell is the leading scorer. Nigel Verdier and Elijah Cobb also in double figures, and then Jawan Carr very close to that mark as well for the Braves. And these are all guys in leadership roles on this team as well. Largely the same team from a year ago, just outside of a couple of guys that graduated. So they've had a very good season, and as I said, won the division title. They're the 1 seed in the tournament. But a lot of, as you know, a lot of college basketball comes down to what happens in March. And so we'll see how they do this weekend and if they can win that Conference Carolinas tournament title. Here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR, I'm your host, Chris Stiles, and looking at UNCP in the Conference Carolinas tournament. The Lady Braves won the Conference Carolinas East Division title as well. They did so with a 69-62 win over Chowan in the regular season finale last week. And as John Haskins gets set to retire, his tenure leading the women's team actually bookended with division titles. His first year, they won a Peach Belt Conference division title, and his last year winning one in Conference Carolinas. 21 wins is a Division II era program record as well. They're 21-7 on the season, 15-3 in the conference. Some seniors we talked about with Coach playing very well. Kalea Hall should be a first-team all-conference player. If she's not, there's been a mistake, in my opinion. But when that comes out, and then Courtney Smith coming back from injury has gotten pretty darn close to what she was last year. Lillian Flantos has been strong in the post. Alcina Purnell coming back and contributing this season after missing some games at the start of the season. And then Anaya McManus, kind of as a facilitator, has done a great job. And then I mentioned Kelsey Adams in having the best 3-game stretch of her career here to end the regular season as well. And UNCP won the conference tournament last year, beating the top 2 seeds on back-to-back days at Wofford. Without Courtney Smith, who had been lost for the year by that point with a torn ACL. Great story last year to get to cover and experience, and that might even be one-upped by themselves if they can do it again and do so to send Coach Haskins out with another tournament title if they can do so. They did get to cut down the nets after his last home game, which was, I mean, how poetic is that, after winning the division title. But they're going to look to cut some nets down at Wofford this weekend as well. Their semifinal game is against the winner of Emmanuel and Barton, who play on Friday. That game will be at 5:15 p.m. Saturday at Wofford. And you can read about all this, UNCP hoops coverage, as well as high school basketball playoff coverage on Robesonian.com and in the print edition of the Robesonian. We've had some recent athletes signed to play college as well, a few of those over the last few weeks. And then spring sports are getting underway, and so we're having coverage of that, and that will also expand a little bit further as well once basketball comes to a close here in the next week or two. So Robesonian.com, of course, your source for all things Robeson County sports. For Paul Matthews behind the scenes, I'm Chris Stiles, sports editor at the Robesonian. Thank you for joining us here on the Robesonian Sports Report on WAGR.